Couple of weeks ago, I shared with you that one of my collecting quests is to get the first appearance of C-list Marvel villains, and that first video proved to be pretty popular. Got a lot of comments on it. So I'm going to do another one and give you four more first appearances of cheesy Marvel C-list villains. Hey everyone, it's Kevin again. Welcome to Doc's Comics. As I mentioned a second ago, I do love the C-list villains. One of my collecting quests is to try to get the first appearance of as many C-list villains as I possibly can. And to remember, C-list villains, in my opinion, are a lot of early Marvel villains that appeared in the 1960s and 1970s and have irregular recurring appearances really throughout the entire Marvel universe for the whole era. So I'm going to jump right into the first one here, and the first villain I'm going to share with you in part two is the Beetle, who happens to be one of my favorite Marvel cheesy villains. The Beetle first appears in this issue here. This is Strange Tales number 123 from August of 1964. The original Beetle goes by the name of Abner Jenkins. And as you can see here, the Beetle's gone through a number of costume changes, but predominantly he has a power suit that gives him wings that allows him to fly. He has these electro bursts that he shoots, and then he has a few other technologically oriented powers as well. The Beetle makes a number of appearances throughout the Marvel Universe, quite a few, almost too many to keep track of. Some of his earliest appearances, which are the ones that I'll focus on, he makes an appearance in a couple of early issues of Amazing Spider Man, earliest of which is issue number 21. He appears later in Amazing Spider Man number 94. And between those two Spider-Man appearances, he shows up in three issues of the Avengers, issues number 26, 27, 28. He's in two issues of Daredevil, a really good era Gene Colan stuff there, in number 33 and 34. He shows up in a couple of very famous Iron Man storylines, including the Demon in a Bottle storyline from the late 1970s. And then he also makes a brief appearance right before the beginnings of Armor Wars in the mid 1980s, and then several other appearances scattered about here and there. The more recent uh, person who is the Beetle is Janice Lincoln, who is the daughter of Tombstone, and it's the Janice Lincoln who is in the most recent version of the Beetle, mostly in the miniseries. What was it? I don't even remember what it was called, but the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. That's it. And of course, Admiral Jenkins is also founding member of the Thunderbolts when he appears as Mach 1. Changes his name a few times: Mach 2, Mach 3, a number of those Roman numerals that come after those Mach numbers. But he has been a character, and her as well, Janice Lincoln, have made a number of appearances in the Marvel Universe. I love them when they pop up irregularly like this. And while not a terribly powerful character, as none of these really are, I like the fact that he has a very high nuisance factor, which makes it fun to me. So the Beetle is the first villain that I'll share with you today. The next two villains I'm going to show you were special requests from people who mentioned this first video to me on social media. The first of which is the Melter, and the first appearance of the Melter is in this issue here. This is Tales of Suspense number 47 from November of 1963. There are three different people who are the Melter, and I'm really only going to focus on the first one because the second two uh, appearances of the Melter. The second two people who call themselves the Melter appear starting in the late 2000s, and I don't really know that stuff terribly well. But the first Melter, goes by the name of Bruno Horgan. He is predominantly an Iron Man villain, although his earliest appearances, other than the Tales of Suspense issue, pop up in some of the early issues of Avengers. Fun fact: Melter is also a founding member of the Masters of Evil who appear in those Avengers issues. So we see the Melter in Avengers number 6 as a part of those Masters of Evil, and then he shows up again in numbers 15 and 16. He then makes an appearance in Tales of Suspense 2 issues number 89 and 90, popping back up in the Avengers again with number 54 and 55, shows up in Avengers 83, and then makes a few appearances as a solo villain in Iron Man, cover appearances being number 72, number 92, and he also appears in the Demon in a Bottle storyline. Similar to the Beetle that I mentioned earlier, he's in issues 123, 124, and 127. He does make an appearance in Marvel 2-in-1 issue number 96, and then the first Melter is ultimately assassinated by the villain Scourge in Avengers number 263. That was a period of time when Marvel decided to try to get rid of some of the goofier or kind of one-trick pony villains and modernize some of the villain hierarchy in the Marvel universe. But nevertheless, the Melter is a fun villain, and I'm happy to share him in this video. The second cheesy villain by request and the third one in this video is the Wrecker. And here is the first appearance of the Wrecker. Try to get the glare off of there. This is Thor number 148 from January of 1968. Fantastic Jack Kirby cover here. The Wrecker goes by the name of Dick Garthwaite. A little bit about the origin of the Wrecker. He's a two-bit thug, a two-bit villain crook until he gets an enchantment from Karnilla, the Nord Queen, after putting on Loki's helmet. Once he defeated Loki, briefly, believe it or not, he did defeat Loki, and he was given kind of his enchanted powers after that and became a much more formidable villain. He makes another appearance in Thor number 171 a little later, and then pops up all over the place, including in Defenders 17 through 19, where we see the first appearance of the Wrecking Crew, where the Wrecker works together with Bulldozer, Pile Driver, and Thunderball to cause problems for the Defenders. Makes a few other appearances, including one in Fantastic Four 168. He makes an appearance in Iron Fist number 11 through 12, where the Wrecking Crew's on the cover of issue number 11. And then he plays a pretty formidable, a pretty important role in Secret Wars, popping up in most of the issues of Secret Wars. He makes a lot of later appearances. The Wreckers appeared in over 200 books, so it's hard for me to cover all of them, but he pops up all over the place in the 80s and the 90s. A reasonably common villain. I would still call him a C-lister. Some of you might say that he's a little tougher than that, but a C-lister in my mind nonetheless, and a fun character for sure. So the Wrecker is the third one on my list. The final C-lister that I will discuss today is the Absorbing Man, another one of my favorites. This is the Absorbing Man's first appearance. This is Journey into Mystery number 114 from March of 1965. Absorbing Man's name is Carl Crusher Creel, and similar to the previous villain that we talked about, he gets his powers from Loki, similar to the Wrecker. He drinks a magical potion that is made by Loki, and that gives him the powers that he has, and his predominant powers that any material that he touches, he can absorb and become that material. When you think about it, that's a pretty formidable power, because if he touches diamond, which he has, or adamantium, or anything like that, he could become a truly formidable character. He also carries that giant ball and chain around with him as well to use as a weapon. Some other appearances he makes in addition to his first one, he does show up a little later in Journey into Mystery. He appears in issues 120 to 123. He has a cool cover appearance in the Hulk, Incredible Hulk issue 125. Makes a number of other appearances in Thor, including issues 206, 207. He appears again in 235 to 236. Hulk number 208 and 209, and then he has a couple of cool appearances in Avengers number 183 and 184. That cool John Byrne, very brief stint that he did on Avengers, and he's on the covers in both of those. Similar to the Wrecker, he also appears in Secret Wars and a number of issues of that, and then he's all over the place in later years as well, again, which I don't know a ton about because I'm not up on the more modern stuff very much. But one interesting fact about the Absorbing Man is that he does have a romantic relationship with Titania, and they are often seen together, including on the cover of Amazing Spider-Man 283 that I'm showing you here. And over the years, Absorbing Man turns into more of an anti-hero rather than a supervillain. And if you know a little bit about the Absorbing Man's character, it makes a lot of sense. He's one of the characters that, yeah, he could be an anti-hero. I get it. So that's four more fun, cheesy D-list Marvel villains. Again, I got plenty more of these to do if the demand is there. If you do enjoy these, or if there's a particular cheesy villain that you would like to see me do a feature on, please leave a comment here. In the meantime, like and subscribe. I continue to grow. I'm getting 4 or 5 subscribers every single day, so that's kind of exciting to see the numbers going up. But y'all have a spectacular day, and I will see you on the next video.